live, laugh.
E-rated DC comic called Divine Right, and he was like an Archangel's kind of character, and it looked really cool. So I just like came up with this name. I took Divine Right and turned it into Devin Wright for whatever reason. I have no idea how I came up with that name, but for years I had this action figure, and it was just always like Devin Wright, Devin Wright. And as I got older, as a teenager, I kind of quit playing with action figures, and I watched a lot of like Razor Ramon, Shawn Michaels wrestling. My dad kind of looked like Scott Hall mixed with like a Mike Awesome kind of deal. It's kind of weird. But so a lot of people called him Razor Ramon a lot. So he would joke around. He always had a toothpick. So that was kind of cool. And then I realized that there's a similarity, not knowing that this is kind of a ripoff almost, but there was a similarity between Scarface and Razor Ramon. And I was like, cool. I'm going to mix like a modern day version of Razor Ramon and Scarface, but try to wrestle like Bret Hart and Jerry the King Lawler, because I like the Memphis. Like I was semi-athletic, but I was really nervous about doing crazy stuff. I'm naturally like, my mom is full-blooded Puerto Rican from the Bronx. My grandparents are from Puerto Rico. The time era that I grew up in, as far as like indie wrestling, everybody wore black and red. And my dad was like, this is terrible. Because I started off with like gym shorts and a Scarface t-shirt. And it was just like kick pads and wrestling shoes that I had from high school. And finally I found a gear maker, and he was like, you need to go with something completely different. Everybody's doing the same thing. Let's go with fuchsia. And I was like, pink? He's like, no, fuchsia, like almost like a watermelon color. Mm-hmm. And where they're going to use is like royal blue in your name. So I'm also a huge Shane Douglas triple threat, ECW mark. And so I used the diamond from the triple threat. I used a Van Halen logo to use DW. Mm-hmm. And awesome. I came up with Devin Wright. I was doing a radio skit here locally to put over a benefit show. And I was wrestling this guy named Morgan McNeil, and he was the Braveheart, Morgan McNeil. And they're like, you need to have like a nickname. So I don't have one. They're like, well, where are you from? It's like, from Miami, Florida. He's like, Miami Bad Boy. Cut to the radio spot. He goes, hey, now we're here with the Miami Bad Boy. And I was like, uh-oh. Like, I don't know. So that's just, I was given the name Miami Bad Boy. And that's just kind of happened. You go with it. But so it was a different persona of me. Like I said, I'm an introvert. So the inner part of me was like this cocky, arrogant guy who doesn't care what other people think. And I really didn't. Like, as a wrestler, I could be a good guy. I really could. I knew how to do that stuff. But I was like, man, it's so easy to be a good guy. It's too easy to be a good guy, right? In wrestling, when you're booking, you send out the heel first. That way the fans understand, hey, this is the bad guy. And the worse the bad guy, the easier job the good guy has, right? I've always wanted to say, we're taught as humans to like other people, right? We're taught as humans not to be rude and be mean to other people and be respectful, right? So I was like, I'm going to have to work really hard at being rude and being mean without being cheesy, like, I didn't want to go like, oh, you stink. You're a god. Like, oh, the Charlotte's a terrible town. It's not even worthy of my time. Like, that was terrible.
Yeah.
So what I learned through psychology and the business itself was through Jake Roberts, that if I could get one person, if I could just focus in on one person, I could eventually multiply into 3 people. 3 is going to turn into 10. 10 is going to turn into 50. 50 is going to turn into 100. 100 is going to turn into 1,000. Right. So I would work on like 2 or 3 people at a time. And that's why even when I was a good guy, I used my emotion. And it was like, I had friends tell me, like, you were a pretty good wrestler. Like, your moves weren't that great because you did generic stuff. Like, I did Jerry Lawler fist drop. I did Shawn Michaels elbow. Like, I did a patent Shawn Michaels elbow drop, the whole like, thing. But my ability to sell made people believe that, like, he's really hurt. Like, I think that this guy is legitimately hurt and we need to get behind him. And it's a lot of theatrics. It's a lot of emotion. And I really like the ability to control people through whatever actions I have. So, like, as a bad guy, I was able to go out there and just give people dirty looks, just do dumb things. Like, spitting gum on the ground in front of somebody, people would get blowed. They would go to my mom and be like, your son's a terrible human being. How did you raise this kid?
His memory and my craziest memory was when we wrestled in the rain. We wrestled in a blizzard. 2016, 2007. It's one of the 2 years. And I remember my trainer, George South, said, you can wear anything you want to this ring because it's raining outside. So I put on like a big orange jacket. I had on my, and I went out to the ring, and the first thing George said was, take that stupid freaking jacket off. So I obeyed my trainer, took it off. And then soon the bell rung, we locked up, and I slipped, and I said, "Yep, the run time is going 3 minutes," and that was the wildest and fondest memory I ever remember of us wrestling in the rain, and me getting to the back, and George saying, "If y'all was gonna go for 3 minutes, I wouldn't have put y'all out there. I would have went to 6 minutes if I would have kept my jacket on." Kick a kid.
What?
APW Chester. I was wrestling. I was shooting a scene. It was called it was me versus Shay Shay, but I called it Shay Shay McBagel because he loves Waffle House, right? And I didn't eat Waffle House, so I'm thinking they sell bagels. Apparently, they don't sell bagels. When I got told that in the trailer, they don't sell bagels. Whatever. But I called the scene Shay Shay McBagel, so I was going to run and give him a boot on the outside of the guardrail, and I kicked his face, but my foot. This is my foot. Look at my beautiful leg. So I kicked my foot to his face, but behind his face, behind his jaw, was a little kid. So this foot extends and hits the kid right in his head.
Did the kid sell?
The kids thought it was nice. He was like, "Oh, do it again." Gotta say action. But nah, man, when I got to my trailer, oh my God. They said, if you ever kick a kid again, this is your last time in this town. I said,
I mean, that's awesome. That feels fair.
Oh my God. That was so crazy. So James was training with us at the time. He was actually training at CWA. And so like we sort of were getting like the first like inklings of like, nah, DPW was like real, like this is really about to happen. And it's like, oh shit. And then like offhanded, like months and months, like almost a year before like DPW like actually started, he was like, yeah, whenever DPW starts, we're probably gonna be our first champion. And he just like said it like offhanded, and I was like, he was just joking when he said that. I was like, I was like, he's just joking. But like, I was still cool that I was like, I'll at least be involved though. So like, that's pretty tight.
Yeah.
And then we get there, and then like shit is actually happening, and it's like, nah, like for real, like you're our guy. And I was like, man, I think it was like a really big, it's one of those things where I feel like then and the thing with PWF, I feel like both of those times I was definitely more ready for like the DPW title, but I feel like with the PWF title, I wasn't like mentally prepared to like actually know what it means to like be like a main event guy yet. So I had this weird, but like I feel like it was good transition of like at that point, that match started like circulating just like around like the ether, and then everyone that's when I started like getting booked more and like traveling more, and then I was facing guys that were like way better than me, so I was having to like push myself really hard to keep up versus like I had sort of gotten in a slump where like I was wrestling for like a year and a half where I was like wrestling either people that I have already wrestled, so like even if they were really good, it's like, well, we've wrestled before, so I know what to expect. Or people that were just like, sort of like where I was too. So then this is when I started wrestling people that were like way fucking better than me, and like I had to like really fucking push myself to keep up, and like I'd get to the back after the match and I was like, God damn. Fuck. I was like super blown up. Like even if I wouldn't be blown up in the match, like by the time we get to the finish, I'd be like, God damn, that was fucking crazy. So like that all happened, and my first title defense in PWF was against Tim. I saw you guys interviewed him recently. and he's been like a big mentor for me, especially because like he was like on that first PWF show that I watched. So like being able to like see him there, and then like now I'm fucking wrestling with him, and he's like giving me advice and stuff is so cool. So I feel like that PWF run helped me prepare for the DPW run. Which like they were still happening at the same time because I have that really cool shot of me with fucking both the belts on my shoulders.
Yeah.
But the PWF run had been happening for like almost a year at that point. So DPW happens, and then I don't think it ever fully set in until like the match with Biff Busick for whatever reason.
Yeah.
It doesn't like register in my brain that that I did that, you know. It's so crazy. So I did the match with Drew, and again that was like one of the best matches I'd ever had, and if not the best match I've ever had. And I was like, fuck, this is so crazy, this is so cool. But I think so then like the next event was the second Fire tapings, and I wrestled JTG. And again, that's something that like didn't seem real.
Oh yeah.
Because I played this dude in the video games when I was fucking 7 years old. This isn't happening. And then I wrestled Diego, but like I'd wrestled Diego before. I never wrestled him. That's the longest match either one of us had ever had.
Yeah, that was a crazy match.
I had never wrestled Diego on like that type of scale before, but like I've wrestled Diego before. So like the Biff match was when something just like clicked in my brain. And it was like, nah, dude, like you really are like the champion, and like you really are like the top guy right now, and like you really have to like you have to carry yourself like that. And then that match was another one of like, that's one of my favorite matches to rewatch, is the match with Biff. And again, it's just like, it's so crazy that I even got that opportunity and that match actually happened. And it's like, it's crazy that it's a reality. I think that was the first time that I felt like, I think that was the first time where it's like, I'm the fucking champion. That was the first time where like really set in, where it's like, I'm the fucking champion. And like, it's funny because, and I might post the picture soon now that it'll be relevant again. Chris Downey is, one of our photographers around here in the area, and just one of my good friends. So he sort of was like over in the corner on a ladder behind the curtain. So he's like just over the curtain. So he's sort of getting like elevated like aerial shots.
Yeah.
And then he has a great shot of me, and there's like a door. There's the locker room, which was like, it was just like a curtain part of the room. And then there's like another room. So I'm in the doorway, and I am fucking shitting bricks, like freaking out before the match. You can like see it on my face, and I'm just like super, super nervous. And I'm like, I'm very obviously visually like trying to fucking put myself in the mindset. But then like that was right before my music hit. And then so then like right after like the picture, fucking my brain just clicks on. I'm ready to go. Music hits. I walk out, and then it's just like, all right, it's go time.
Both. I personally love working heel. For the same reason that most people do. Again, it's easier. It's way easier to piss people off than it is to get people like you. And then also like the sympathy angle, I'm bigger than a lot of the guys that I wrestle. It's really hard for me to get that underdog sympathy that I can help someone else get a lot easier. You know, so I'd rather work with a guy, beat them down, get them to a point that they look like they're crushed, and then give them that really awesome hope that gets the crowd right back behind them, gets them, you know, right with that underdog. And then, you know, now we're off to the races. Now we got a match going. Wife and I talk about this all the time. Like, why do they choose the biggest guys on the card all the time to start something? Let's see, fights. I had one guy that pulled brass knuckles on me in the front row, and I had to hit him before he hit me. It was as the match was starting. I was like walking around the ring to get into the ring, and I saw the guy pull out the nuts. So I just fucking laid him out. So I laid him out. And then there was another guy that he was actually drunk. This was at a place called the UWC, and it was myself and Cole Cash D, who's unfortunately not with us anymore, against this guy Apollo Steed and Donnie Steamboat, who's also unfortunately not with us anymore. And at the end of the match, I had the spot where I was supposed to do a dive over the corner and land on all three of the guys, and then we would fight our way to the back from there. Well, two of the guys fought their way to the back. Me and Apollo were still out there, and this fan came up, and he was drunk, I guess, from earlier in the night. And he just walked right up the entranceway and grabbed Apollo and hit him with a stunner. Out of nowhere, dude. I'm like, what the hell? And this fan, like one of the wrestlers' wives, saw me as I was trying to leave and was like, Mark, this guy's going to do something stupid. And he's just like walked right past me, behind me, to hit Apollo with a stunner. Apollo thought it was me, so he went with it, thankfully.
We sold it.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Stole the whole thing. And then I beat the hell out of this guy from where he was until I threw him face first into an oak door and broke his nose on the way out of it. Yeah, so I've had a few over the years. Couple. Again, like you're a big tough guy, and everybody wants to try and test the biggest guy in the yard. And like I'm not a heel, like I'm not one of those cowardly heel guys, So like I'm not just gonna sit there and take that either. Like I'm gonna go back at the guy. And that usually doesn't help any. It always turns into some kind of thing. But yeah, I've had to have security take me out of buildings before. We caused riots down in South Carolina. Like it's so much
fun. That's casually mentioning a riot.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get that many people. The fun for me in wrestling is being a puppet master, and being able to understand that if I do this in the right space, then everybody here is gonna friggin' hate it.
Yeah.
No matter what. Like there's not a redeemable thing about anything I want to do in that ring. I want to be just violent. But I'm a smart ass and I try and be funny and things like that sometimes. And it doesn't always work. And I oversell people sometimes.
Yeah,
it's all in the business, man. You're trying to make everybody look good and have a good time yourself.
Yeah. Little kid, we had we're in the South. We had WCW, brother, and it was Ultimo Dragon and La Parka. Because to me, it looked like these two like superheroes. But I was one of those kids. I played with my action figures and stuff all the time. So it was like these two superheroes come to life on TV, man, and I think right after that was like a Macho Man Slim Jim commercial, like leading out of it. And I was just like, oh, this is dope, dude. When I started really getting into it when I was younger, I'm a little bit of a youngin' for some people. I was like 9 years old, like 2000, right around whenever Rock was doing, like, The Rock was my big guy. We had Mick Foley, he was some of the bigger guys. But once I got in the business, it was more guys like Terry Funk, Dr. D, David Schultz, just guys who could just talk a mad load of crap. But I read all Mick Foley's books, and he talked about being on the wrestling team with Kevin James of King of Queens. And I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Paul Blart Mall Cop, he put that wrestling to use later on.
Yeah.
He's a shooter, pal. Kevin James is a shooter. I've always said it. I've always said Kevin James is a shooter too. But the last guy was really like, oh, sir, was Chavo was there. And I was like, Mr. Guerrero, sir, it's a pleasure to meet you, man. Because, like, that's the people I get, like Terry Funk. I met him when I was in Las Vegas. And I was hammered outside of a TGI Fridays. But, but I was like, and the buddies I was with was like, don't rush up to him. And I immediately rushed up to him. I was like, sir, it's a goddamn pleasure to meet you. He's like, oh, how you boys doing? And he's just being I was tickled pink, man.
That's awesome. It's also cool to know that Terry Funk enjoys the occasional TGIF Fridays.
Oh, dude, it's a thing, man. It is a thing. I'm not sure why it's a thing, but it's a thing that at the Gold Coast Casino, if you're going there for Cauliflower Alley Club, every single wrestler or wrestling-related person will be. That mean Gene Okerlund there, JR, JBL, like Gerald Briscoe. All those guys are just hanging out at the TGI Fridays. I'm like, y'all know there's better restaurants around here, right?
If you and Trevor Murdoch, who's gonna fill up a water bottle first with dip spit?
Oh, me. He's got like his wife and kids and stuff like that. His wife's probably like, "Oh, don't be doing that, there, Trevor. Oh, you got to." I can just put a whole half a can in my damn mouth. Man, the funniest thing was whenever they have me send in my picture and everything. I went clean shaven after it, and then I realized how good I look, so I just kept the clean shaved look.
Yeah.
But so they send in the pictures, and they're like, "Yeah, he looks a lot like him." And then the head of casting is like, "So do you know anything about Terry Gordy?" And to me, this question is hilarious because Terry Gordy is literally my favorite wrestler of all time.
Yeah.
Like in terms of like in ring and everything, don't get me wrong, Terry Funk's the perfect wrestler to me, but I'm Terry Gordy's size. We kind of look the same. We move around the same. Like, so Gordy was always him and like Barry Windham and like a lot of those like bigger, kind of more agile Southern guys is who I was going for. And so dude, like I was like, do I know Terry Gordy? Okay, let me show you, boys. And fortunately, we had James Beard there, who was a referee. He was actually referee for World Class, and he worked a lot with Bam Bam back in the day. And he would give me like little pointers. He's like, man, I think Terry would have really done this here, like kind of come at the ring, like doing the eyes and like just. So, I mean, in terms of like the moves, and I've been ripping his shit off for years, dude. So that was easy. It's just like little smaller detailed kind of stuff, like how he says cheer. He doesn't say chair. He says cheer. I want to hit him with a cheer. I just don't care. Like he just like throw a little shit. I didn't get any speaking lines, but I still talk shit even when I wrestle. So throwing it in there.
I didn't really have a choice in what I wanted to be. I was just told from day one, man, you're a rookie. Oh man, you're natural. My trainer Silvio Romo was like, he's a freaking natural. He just does everything perfect. And I was like, I've only been watching and jumping off of coconut trees in Hawaii onto my friends and cones and ladders. I've been doing this my whole life. So when I got into the ring, I already knew what I was gonna do. As far as character wise, it was they kept calling me like the rookie, and I was like, okay, well, what is that? Like what is just a rookie? Am I a rookie? What does that even mean? And I couldn't find a character, and I was obsessed with the 80s at one time, and I was like, okay, like I like the 80s. I'm obsessed. It's a trend, whatever. And then one of my coaches was like, what year are you born? I was like, 1988. And they're like, Jesus, you're a baby. And I'm like, yes. And not compared to you guys, but I'm old now to you guys. But yeah, so they gave me the name 88, literally the number 88. And but the rookie 88, and they're like, you're gonna be our next Rey Mysterio. We're gonna put you under a hood. And for those that are not familiar with what a hood is, it's a mask in wrestling. And I was like, I don't want to wrestle in a mask. Like, I want everybody to see my freaking sexy face, right? Whatever. And they just put me in a mask, and the rest was history. I made my debut under a hood. It was a sex shop mask at first because I couldn't afford a mask. So we cut the ball out. One of those balls that you're like, we cut the ball out. It was a black mask. It was horrible. Every time I'd wrestle, it'd just be like, like it moved. Yeah. The worst mask ever. And I bought these tights that were like $65 on eBay, and it was sex like slave tights. And I didn't have anything. I was a broke kid. Yeah. That's how I got my gimmick. And it was just, I came out to the worst music. It was like, I just can't get enough. I just can't get enough. I think it was Depeche Mode. Yeah. It's the worst theme, worst mask, worst gear, and definitely not what I wanted to be as a character. But I made it work. That's what we do. I got an opportunity to be a WWE extra with, at the time was the Rosebuds. This is when he was on his way out, and he was unenthusiastic about like just having people around him. He knew he was on the out. So he was just like, all right, guys, we're going to go to the ring, and we're just going to throw your hands up, and you're going to, catch me as I fall. And every time I get bumped, you cheer. And that's it, guys. We're going to go through it one time, and then that's it. And have a good day. And, enjoy this whatever you guys will call this. And I was like, okay. And I'm like, I'm freaking excited. I'm here at the WWE. What the heck? How cool is this? And this was, I believe, in 2015 or 14, one of them. And I just remember showing up to the Staples Center exactly where I got the flyer to be a full circle. Exactly. And I just remember being in the Staples Center. I'm just looking around. And I'm like, I'm here. And I thought, I was like, I'm going to get signed. I'm going to, Triple H is going to come. Vince McMahon is going to go like, how you doing, pal? You want a contract? I thought I was going to get the whole shebang. And that night, they just told me to dress up in some funny clothes and do the whole dun, 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 whoa. And I was just like, okay. And I had a ball. It just went by so fast. I saw all of my favorite stars, all of my favorite wrestlers growing up, young, old, new. It was a blast. And I just remember the night going by so quick, and then sitting in my car after the show, and everybody left the parking lot, and I'm still in the parking lot, and I'm just like, wow, like my dream came true. But my dream didn't come true because I've never wrestled for the WWE. It was just an extra spot. But I was like, I thought I can retire. Peace out. You know what I mean? My life is made.
Go with these guys, and we're wrestling like normal, we think, and another group of fans who we thought were fans showed up, and they were really, really like aggressively heckling us, like not just us, the entire show. And we're like, man, have y'all in the locker room? We're like, man, have y'all seen these guys over here in the corner? And they're a bunch of big burly dudes in the corner. So nobody's like, yeah, we're going to go over there and kick their ass because they look like somebody's dad. You know what I mean? So
like us now.
Yeah. So they got under a couple guys' skin, and after the show, they approach us, and we're thinking like, oh man, here it goes. And listen, this is the turning point right here, literally, that made us as a collective group. There was a bunch of us there. Literally say, okay, we need to figure out a way to get trained the right way, because they came up to us and said, we're all wrestlers, and what we should do is kick the crap out of you guys right now for making a mockery of our business by coming out here untrained and throwing shows and taking money away from these people because you're untrained. But we're all just out there trying to be, Bret Hart. You know what I'm saying? That's all we're trying to do is just wrestle. But these guys are like, they checked us and they said, if you're going to do this, you know what I mean? Like, you need to go find somewhere to get trained, or we're going to be here every single time you run a show and we're going to run you out of town, which to me, that opened our eyes. They weren't going to run us out of town. That's whenever we realized like, okay, we need to find somebody to get trained.
We actually learned how to punch from Ricky Morton, Tracy Smothers, and it was a brick wall. It was a brick wall. If your knuckles didn't bleed, then you threw a good punch.
Yeah, you'll learn how to pull that punch when your knuckles stop bleeding.
It's little stuff like that you don't.
Well, it was billed as a seminar, Dave. You remember that? It was billed as the seminar, right? It was the third day of this 3-day loop that Trey did. He did one show I think he did the Friday at the pawn shop, a Saturday at like the middle school, and then a Sunday back at the pawn shop. But he was going to do a seminar and he had these names for the loop, brother. You know what I mean? They're there for the whole loop. So Sunday was going to be an opportunity to learn from George South, Ricky Morton, and Tracy Smothers. Literally these three guys in a seminar. So, of course, we're Trey's guys, and we want to learn from them, so we go. And it's literally because I don't know if the Trey wasn't there. I don't know if the lady with the key wasn't there. But we did a seminar on the grass with the canvas on the grass, taking bumps on the ground, learning to roll. I remember Casey and Tracy Smothers rolling around on the mat, literally like doing chain wrestling. No ring. We're, there's a couple of us doing practicing punches on the brick wall. Excuse me. A couple guys practicing punches on the brick wall.
This is the best visual.
Literally,
somebody driving by
from the street. I'll give you the visual. Okay, you got the canvas over here to the right, with Tracy Smothers and Casey rolling around, with maybe George standing there laughing. George is standing there laughing at all us trying to do punches on the wall with Ricky Morton. Just pull it. Just come on, pull it. And George is like, laughing at us. But that's your visual from if you would think we're outside. I think it had just rained maybe the night before, so that was our that was our upbringing in wrestling, man. I love it.